Well, top of the morning to you, fine ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to an early morning stream here at V1 Nation. Going a little bit earlier than planned, but these GA aircraft have got me excited. They've got me re-motivated to fly again. Like, I was really losing motivation just flying tube liners around, so this is a breath of fresh air, and I've been enjoying them so much that I wanted to do a dedicated stream to some traffic pattern operations and just some very basic fundamentals, because I'm getting some DMs. I've also been seeing some comments. I've also been seeing some questions in the Discord. Just how to improve landings, how to know how to enter an airport that doesn't have a radio tower. What do I do for, like, how do I make my traffic pattern better? So all these little questions that some of us, myself included, may take for granted and don't ever really go over. So what we're going to do today, we're doing a very simple flight. We're going to leave the airport here, Deer Valley, Arizona, where I did my I did most of my primary flight training. We're going to fly down to a little airstrip called Casa Grande, and we're going to do some pattern work down there. In the pattern, I will give you guys some tips and some tricks how to make your landings better. And the saying goes, as I said in the Discord, if you play golf, if you want to get better at golf, what do? You got to practice your putting. It's not the flashy thing, it's not the fun thing necessarily, but you got to practice your putting. So if you want to learn how to control the airplane and land the airplane successfully, repetitively, you want to have good traffic patterns. That is the key. The key to good landings is a successful and consistent traffic pattern. So we're gonna knock this out of the park today. It's gonna be a fun one, and we may do just a few little aerial maneuvers as well, such as mostly just slow flight, and maybe even do it a stall or two, just because I really think if you're struggling, especially if you don't have force feedback yoke, and you're trying to figure out your curves and your sensitivities, finding out how the airplane is going to handle in flight as opposed to just trying to do landings over and over again is actually going to help you dial in your yoke curves and sensitivities better than trying to do it landing after landing. So we've got a lot to cover, got no ATC, just going to be you and I, and we are in the base model Bonanza. We're in the regular A36, the non-turbocharged. And the reason I'm using this one is because it's going to be a little bit slower, a little bit easier to manage. All of these procedures are going to apply across the board, even into the Baron, except the Baron is just going to be, you're going to be doing things faster. You're going to be manipulating the throttles a little bit faster and more aggressively just because you have more power. So, and this is a good training tip too, is, start with the most underpowered variant, right? Start with the most basic variant, because if you can nail the basics down, you just apply the basics to the more advanced airplanes, and you're gonna get the same result. Okay, just some minor tweaking and stuff. So that is on the plate for today. And AJ Funara kicking us off with a $3 super chat. My man, appreciate you. Says, I thought it was to go to the bikini card for drinks. Oh, jeez. AJ, thanks for the $3 super chat. Yeah, no bikini card here today, man. We're focused in on flying. Now, I also have the vertical stream pinned, so you can check over there what the vertical stream is going to be good for. If you want to have it on your phone later, is when we do our pattern work, you'll be able to see our flight track, and I'll be able to kind of show you what I mean about consistency and overlapping patterns and things like that. So let's go ahead and walk out to our airplane here. Now, I've done this walk many times. This used to be Westwind Aviation. I believe this is now United Aviate, which is owned by United Airlines. And this is where I did a lot of my primary flight training and where I did my instructor stuff as well. So we're going to go ahead and walk up to the airplane here. You notice we've got a very base model A36 today, no radar pod or anything like that. We're going to go ahead and open the door. Man, I love that sound. Isn't that great? We're going to hop in first, and we're going to just check the tail number. We'll check a couple logs. We'll pull this control lock here, and we would check the tail number and all that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the battery switch on, and we're going to dump the flaps all the way down, get it ready for pre-flight. The only light we're going to need today is the beacon. And instead of, we'd come out there and check the beacon light. I'm not going to do the full walk around. All right, so the beacon works, and the nav light, technically I think it's end of civil twilight is right now. Our nav lights are working. We'll turn those off, and then taxi, we can see that light up over there, so we don't need to check that one. Landing light, we could check that one. All right, and then we'll go ahead and turn this off, make sure the magneto switch is in off, and we'll kind of sit here for a minute. We'll go over our flight plan and our basically a route of flight here. So this almost looks like an ATP livery. It sure does, AJ. That's why I picked it. I picked it. There are only 2 rules. Everyone fights and keeps the blue side up. Exactly. What's the temp in the HQ? Right now, it's not terrible because it's 37 degrees outside, but I wore shorts. I wore shorts and flip-flops to the HQ. I dropped my kids off at school this morning, and, man, I was freezing. But I did it for you guys because it's going to be hotter than it's going to be hot in here today. So that's why I wore shorts and flip-flops to the HQ. But anyway, let's do our quick flight plan here. We're going to put in Deer Valley, and we're just going to load in Casa Grande, the arrival airport. And the reason we're doing this is for a couple different things. It's easier to get the weather, and I'll show you our cool little VFR transition that we used to do real world. We're going to look at the information here at Deer Valley. We've got the weather is 030 at 6, 10 miles clear. It's a beautiful day for flight training. 21 degrees this morning, 3002 on the altimeter. So I'll just hit 3002 right now. Magic Barrel ref is set. That looks good. All right, that's pretty much all I need from this EFB right now. Let's come down here. We'll plan our load. So I've got failures at, I should probably knock them down to 5x for this flight since we're going to be doing some training. We'll knock it down to 5x for this flight. I've got a 530, which is going to be pretty standard for flight training, and we're going to load it up. So we're going to load myself and like another flight student, except these rules would be flipped, and we'll take any people with us today. We could take a couple of observers. All right, we got a couple of observers in the back. We'll make it nice and easy. We're going to make the weight and balance pretty symmetrical today because we're focusing on just controlling the airplane. Now, control will change as your CG shifts. Like if you have a really aft CG and you go to rotate, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that in your flare. If you have a real nose forward CG, you're going to feel a slight difference in the rotation force required. So for training purposes, we want to keep this pretty much locked in here close to the center as we can. We've got our flight bag in the back, 10 pounds. That is fine. Now, as far as fuel, we're going to have, we'll go to I don't know what tabs are on this thing, but let's go ahead and take 30 gallons aside. So that's going to give us plenty of fuel, and that locks our CG in right there. So we've got plenty of fuel on board. We're 500 pounds below max. We're nowhere near that. Everything is in good working order for this morning. So we can go ahead and put this EFB away, and let's go outside and conclude our pre-flight and get rocking. So you can see here the flaps are down. Do a little wiggle on the flap. Come under here. We'll pull the chocks out. Make sure our ailerons are working correctly. Make sure all the connecting joints are looking good. And of course, if you were 20 years younger, you turn the lights on, go out here, run around, then go in and turn the lights off. But we're going to skip that. Fuel caps, make sure they are secured. That looks good. Come out here and check the engine. Probably check the engine oil. We'll go ahead and pull the cover off the front. Make sure everything is in good working order. No leaks. Come over here. We'll go ahead and pull the pitot tube cover. That's very important. Again, checking the overall condition of our leading edge and checking our aileron, making sure, again, all the connection points are looking good. This is a trim tab right there. You don't want to touch the trim tab because if you bend that, then your airplane will be out of trim. Be like, why do I need aileron trim? Elevator, same thing, right? Make sure all the connections are looking good. No abnormalities. Rudder, beautiful. All right, pre-flight is complete. I'll close this aft door. I'll hop into the cockpit here, and then we're going to go through some pre-flight checks. How can we get your Moza-based profile? So Seth Jones, I have been asked this a lot. I do not have, Moza sent me the AB9 a long time ago, and then that was it. They pretty much ceased all communication. I don't have the Moza yoke. I don't have AB6. I don't have any other Moza products. I'm not sure if I maybe said something wrong. Who knows? At this point, really, I don't care. But I do recommend the AB9. I think it's a great base. I don't have a profile for it yet. I will try to make an AB9 profile for the Moza for flying GA because I've pretty much come to the conclusion right now that I think if you have a force feedback side stick, you're going to get more enjoyment out of GA airplanes than if you have a let's say you use your AB9 strictly for Airbus and then you use, say, a Honeycomb Alpha for GA. while that you can get by and that'll be fine and maybe you like that, I think if you have a proper profile for a side stick, I still think you'd have more enjoyment because it's not totally unrealistic either. There are light GA aircraft that use a side stick control. You know, they look at Cirrus, the Corvallis, things like that. So I will try to get a profile for the side stick that you can run. I think Team Vodka posted one in the Discord last night, but I haven't been able to check it out yet. But if you have an AB9 base and maybe you're kind of struggling with just a regular spring-loaded joystick, maybe try flying it with a side stick. I think you might actually enjoy it more. Plus, you get the cool effects. You know, you can get the buffeting and things like that. Turk in the U.S. says that's me. Alpha is a bit bad, even with crazy curves. Yeah, so I don't want to just, poo-poo on the Honeycomb Alpha, but in my experience with the Honeycomb Alpha, my pitch axis was so stiff that it was borderline unflyable for GA airplanes. So, everything else was good. It was good quality. It felt fine. I had a problem with the connector, too, later on, but my Honeycomb Alpha was just way too stiff to enjoy a GA airplane. So, the Moza yoke would be a great option. I'm running the Brunner. I'm sure it's very similar at this point with their software. So, Captain McGee, thank you for the $5 super chat. So I broke down, ordered the Flight Sim base AB9. Hope you don't regret it. Hope I don't regret it. I'll get the yoke base later. Thanks to you. Hey, Captain McGee, listen, dude, that is fantastic. Congrats on that. Thank you for the $5 super chat. I think you're really going to love the AB9. Force feedback is the future, guys. The best thing you can do for your sim setup is get a force feedback controller. Whether you get a side stick or a yoke, I think you're going to... I don't know if another peripheral that's going to be more game-changing for the desktop simmer than force feedback. So I highly, highly recommend, if you're looking, as we go into the holiday season here, if you're looking to really upgrade and you want a panel or something, I would put the panels and the FMCs to the side and get yourself a force feedback controller, whether it's a yoke or a AB9 base. Even over VR, Apollo, even over VR, I would go force feedback first. All right, let's go ahead and boot up. Do a little pre-flight here. So we're going to go ahead and turn the battery switch on. With the battery switch on, we're going to do a couple of things. Well, really, we should have checked, make sure all our circuit breakers are in first, right? That was on me. Circuit breakers are all in. That looks good. With the circuit breakers in, we're going to test the annunciator light panel. That looks good. And I'm doing an abbreviated check, right? I'm just going to test the annunciator lights. We're going to make sure that the static air source is in. Firewall, these are all closed. You could turn on the avionics if you want right now. I'm going to skip that. We're going to test the fuel pump. You're just listening for audio. Bring those back off. Everything else looks good here. Coming across the panel, you want to make sure that you have 24 volts minimum, which we do. I'll hide this panel. Coming over here, we want to make sure that our oxygen is the green, especially if you plan on using supplemental oxygen. And then you can adjust your additional panel lighting here as well for the master panel lights. So we are idle cutoff there. We got forward on the prop. Mixture is in cutoff. And you can go ahead and open the cowl flap and make sure your aileron trim is neutralized. With that neutralized, let's go ahead and run a checklist and get the airplane fired up. So we're going to go, and again, if you want to do the full pre-flight, it's all listed here. I'm just going over the very basic, get you up and running. You want to check lights, you want to check your fuel pumps, you want to check your breakers, and you want to make sure that your controls are in the right position for engine start. Now, engine starting on the Bonanza, I actually did it incorrectly on the first one. You actually start it with mixture full rich. So we're going to go through the procedure here together. We'll get the airplane running, and then we'll load up our Garmin if need be. So engine start cold, which the engine is cold. Mixture's coming full rich. Propeller is high RPM, full forward. Throttle's going to go full open. Aux fuel pump on for 2 to 3 seconds. So here we go. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Fuel flow is up. It's greater than, what is it, 3? Yeah, greater than 3 gallons per hour. You saw it was up here up to the 5. Watch it again. We don't want to flood the engine. Yeah, it's up over like 7 gallons per hour. So we got plenty of fuel. Aux fuel pump off. Throttle open 1/2 inch. So we're going to bring the throttle back, open it 1/2 inch. Starter engaged. We actually start with the mixture in full rich on a cold start. So with that said, let's go ahead and throw the beacon light on, nav light on, clear right, clear left, clear prop, magneto right, left, both, and start. Beautiful startup. Get that RPM to about 1,000 RPM. 1,000 RPM. Now, if you listen to Full Flap Sim, he'll give you a 45-minute spiel on where to put the mixture. I'll tell you what, put the mixture, bring it back about halfway. just past halfway. All right, that's why we'll do that on the ground here. We'll close up the door. The reason that you want to put the mixture, and I'll put actually, since we're gonna be doing flight instruction, I'm gonna actually run the headsets on this one. All right, the reason that you put the mixture back is because you have avgas in this airplane, and you're running lead in the avgas, which is a bunch of problems for a bunch of different things, but that can cause spark plug fouling, and it's just not very good for your engine. So we want to keep the least amount of lead as possible running, so we bring that back, and 1,000 RPM, let's go ahead and turn the alternator on and the avionics on. Now, you also want to make sure right after engine start that you get oil pressure, make sure you're in the green. So really a startup procedure, crank it, boom, engine start, lean the mixture back, make sure you have oil pressure rising. There's debate on, well, if wait at least within 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Look, make sure you get oil pressure, at least it's rising rapidly, because if you don't get oil pressure after engine start, guess what? You're not getting oil into your engine, and you're not lubricating the engine, and you're just going to have problems later on. So make sure you do have the oil pressure. You can see our cylinder head temps are actually pretty cold right now, so I'm going to just go ahead and close the cowl flaps, and we're going to get those warming up. We got the GPS ready to go, prop at 1,000 RPM, manifold pressure is set, and I'll turn on the panel lights here for a little bit of extra juice. We'll do a magic barrel ref on, and we'll turn the standby alternator on as well. No need for air conditioning or heater right now. Matter of fact, it's already 80 degrees in here because we closed the door, so that is good. We'll put the transponder in standby mode, and the weather radar is in standby mode as well. We'll get the Garmin to come in. Now for our flight plan to Casa Grande, you can see right now field elevation is 2,500 feet. We're actually going to go, I think the transition was at 4,500. I think the Bravo airspace was at 4,500 or somewhere around there. So that is set. I can feel the yoke vibrating. That's so cool. Let me center this up just a tad. All right. We'll bring out our checklist. After start, throttle 1,000, oil pressure's in the green, start annunciator is extinguished, low voltage has extinguished, alternator load below 25 amps. We come down here, and you can see it's just below 25 amps. Bus volts 28, they are. Engine instruments we checked, lights as required, weather radar off standby, avionics, cabin air heat as desired, air conditioning, mixture lane for taxi, park brake, and that is good. All right, we are set to go there. We'll leave it for the run-up checklist. Let's go ahead and throw in just the destination of our flight plan here. We're going to do KDVT, enter, and we're going to do KCGG, CGZ, KCGZ, boom, boom. Wonderful. All right. Now, with that said, we are pretty much ready to taxi. As far as taxiing out, we can just zoom this into page 2 here. Let's see. We're going to blast off runway 7 right. We're going to taxi down to the run-up area. What I like to do is put my CDI needle. We're going to come back to this. Runway heading. So 070 for the CDI. And our heading for takeoff is going to be about 070. Now, before we get going, one other thing I forgot is views. So if you're here for tips on how to fly GA without track IR, which I don't fly it with track IR anymore. I stopped using it because I started streaming, and I don't use track IR really anymore. Track IR would be ideal. If you don't have track IR, you can absolutely still fly GA very well without it. Just you have to have your views set up a little bit different. So first thing first, you have your co-pilot view, or excuse me, your pilot view, which I have here. The next view you're going to want to bind is you're going to come out here to the nose in front of the dash, and what I zoom the camera out, okay, and what I want to see, oh dang it, I just screwed up my sim time. What the heck did I do? I can't believe that's bound. It was like, what time was it in the sim? It was like 6:45 or so. Okay, I had the time on back. What you want to see is your wingtip out here, and you want to see your cowling. So this is kind of like a 45-degree view off the nose. So I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to do the same view over here, okay? And we'll come back to this when we do pattern work, but this will also help you for taxiing. But it's kind of like that looking view, right? So when you're in the pattern, you would stick your head forward and look left or right. This is where I'm going to set my view here, and I zoom out. You don't want to be zoomed in. Zoom it out, all right? Zoom it out like this, and then we're going to save that view there. The next view you're going to want to save, I go back to my cockpit view, and you're just going to do a 90-degree left. I zoom it out just a tad, and I want to be right there. I want a cockpit view left shoulder. I save that, and then I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do same exact thing. Cockpit view, about the same height, too. You don't want to be super low. Cockpit view, right shoulder. Now, for juice purposes, I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to set a flap view. Okay, this is not required, but I'll set a flap view here, and while we're looking at it, we'll retract the flaps. So flap view, and I'll retract the flaps, and then we're going to save this view over here. Boom. Okay, so now you can easily get the same sense of looking around your cockpit as if you had a track IR. What size monitor do you use? I can't zoom out too much or the gauges get small with my screen. Man, I wish I knew what size monitor this is. I'd be lying to you. I think it's like 20, I don't know, man, 28 inches. It's an Acer Curve 2K. All right. Also, for your cockpit view, make sure I think this is the default view here. All right. Whenever you save your default view, you don't want to be sitting down here, and you don't want to be way up here. All right. You want to be right about here. You want to see your cowling, right? And then I look at my monitor, and I'm going to kind of cut the yoke off just a little bit, but I also need to move a little bit left. I'm not quite in my seat centered. Right about there. Maybe right about there. All right. I'm going to tilt the camera up just a hair. All right. So I see the tops of my yoke, but I can see my six-pack perfectly fine. So that is my cockpit view setup. Boom, boom. Back here, I can look left, right, done. All right. Very important if you don't have track IR to set your views like that. All right, let's go ahead and taxi to the runway. I'm going to go ahead and put taxi light on, park brake release, and we're going to taxi out to the run-up area. It's a little bit warm. We'll open the window. We're not going to do commercial maneuvers, Wes, but we're going to do a little bit of we're going to do probably slow flight installs on our way down to Casa Grande. Alright, so this is an uncontrolled ramp. I'm also going to simulate fake radio calls for those of you that like to fly on VATSIM that are not banned like myself. Deer Valley would be a towered airport, so you would be talking to ATC. You'd call them up right here. Deer Valley number 3 Bravo Tango with Alpha taxi. 3 Bravo Tango taxi 7 right via Alpha, whatever it is. Alright, so we're going to taxi down to the run-up area for runway 7 right. Airplane taxi's really nice on the ground. The sim time right now is 6:50. It's almost 7 a.m. in the sim time. I'm basically an hour behind real time. I think it's 8:23 real world. I think I'm sitting at about 7:23. Simulate a nice early morning flight here. Love it. I also took the radar pod off this one here just for flight training purposes. How am I banned from VATSIM? It's a long story. Well, it's not really. They want my ID, and I don't want to give them my ID. Basically what it boils down to. Frodo Wills, I love Beyond ATC. I'm just not using it today because today's really about you guys. It's really about trying to teach you guys, give you some valuable information, whether it's sim setup or, you know, I don't want to do any of the ATC stuff today. It's more about answering questions and trying to get you guys up and flying here in the Bonanza. Remember, taxiway is a brisk walk, not a jog or a run, so I gotta slow down a little bit here. Suspension feels so good in this thing, so good. When's Tour de America's continuing? Oh my goodness, man, I don't know. Here's the thing, you know how much I love the Duke. I don't want to fly Duke right now, I just want to fly Baron and Bonanza. Risk W, this is Black Square Bonanza, and if you're just tuning in, if you fly GA, you got to get these airplanes. They just released. You can buy either the Bonanza package or the Baron package or the bundle. If you buy the bundle, it's $65 US. You're going to get 6 variants. So that's $10 an airplane, essentially. And it is beyond fair. These are some of the most detailed airplanes in the sim. In my opinion, they are the #1 GA airplane right now. There's nothing that's better as a whole package. Did we already do the... No, you didn't miss it, AFO. Same thing. I just ran out of time and everything. All right, we're going to go down to the old run-up pad here. I haven't been over here in a very long time. I don't even know if this run-up pad is still here, but this is where we would run up. Come down here. Generally speaking, when you do your engine run-up, you like to face into the wind. Huh? Alright, we'll straighten it out, 1,000 RPM. We'll go ahead and set the brake. We're going to be doing our run-up, so let's go ahead and open the cowl flap now. You can see our cylinder head is in the green, so we'll just go ahead and keep it nice and cool. Alright, I'm going to have to reset this because it's going to drive me nuts. I'll do it like here. Alright, beautiful. Okay. So, now, it's our run-up. Let's go ahead and we'll close it, and we'll do this run-up by the book. Alright. That way we can go through it together. Park brake set, an unseater's test. We've already done that. We'll skip that. Remote compass, a live slave, or make sure it's slaved up. Mixtures coming to full rich. Full rich. Throttle's coming up to 1,700 RPM. So let's go ahead and spin it up. Miss V1 in the house. You have air? Oh, Miss V1 coming in clutch. She went and bought me a new fan, guys. New fan. I can't grab it right now. If you want to throw it in the back of my truck, hun, can you throw it in the back of my truck? I'll go out and grab it after this stream. 1,700 RPM. We're going to exercise propeller to observe a 300 RPM drop at least. There's 1. There's 2. Now I want to see, what's the engine visualizer look? I'm going to explain this here. Look at that. So you actually can visualize this. So what we're doing when we exercise the propeller lever, I want you to pay attention here. I'm going to do an exaggerated one. See the oil going in, pushing into the hub? So what's happening is we are changing the pitch on the propeller by using the engine-driven oil pressure here to push against this piston that's keeping it in the high RPM. So as we bring the RPM lever back, the oil flows into the hub and the pitch lever the pitch changes on the propeller. Now we're not going to go into a constant speed propeller discussion, but the reason that we cycle the prop hub, there's a couple different reasons, or we cycle the propeller is, one, we want to make sure that the temperature of the oil that's going to be going in and out of the hub, or if there's oil in the hub, depending on which type of constant speed prop you have, and that will depend if you're a single or a twin engine. We want to make sure we have nice, fresh, warm oil in and out of the hub and through the entire cycle system. Couple different reasons. Most commonly would be is if you have really cold oil in the hub and then you go to take off, it is possible that you can get an overspeed because the governor is not going to be working properly until it kind of warms itself up and you get the proper viscosity of the oil because it's at a proper temperature, right? So you want to make sure, that's just one reason, but also you're checking the full functionality of the propeller lever, right? Making sure everything is working as intended. Typically, you would cycle the prop depending on outside air temperature. So if it was below 60 degrees, I think we did 3 cycles. If it was above 80 degrees, I think we just did 1. And if it was below 40 degrees, I think we did 5. So that is the prop cycle. So that cycle, let's go ahead and continue working through this here. I'm going to just mark all these off. Magnetos. So now we're going to check our magnetos, and we're going to be observing an RPM drop. You want to make sure we have 150-ish drop here. We're going to go right, left, or excuse me, left, right. RPM drops. Go back to both, and back to left. There's the drop. Back to both. That looks good. Instrument air, want to make sure that is in the green, which it is down there. Primary alternator, now this is where we screwed this up before, we're going to get it right. So primary alternator is going to come off. Primary alternator comes off, the standby alternator light illuminates right here. The load meter, we're going to move to secondary. When it moves to secondary, we see an alternator load increase, okay? Boom. Now we're going to turn the standby or the secondary alternator, or excuse me, we're going to turn the standby alternator off, and you can see alternator bus drops to 0, alternator load drops to 0, and we have low bus volts. Now we're going to go primary alternator back on, bus volts jump, primary alternator, load meter, primary, standby back on. So we're going to recycle, standby is coming back on, and we're going to go to primary, and there's the jump. All right, alternator load after all is complete above 25 amps, which it is. We want to make sure we're getting proper charging to our batteries, okay? So alternators checked. Propeller heat, don't need this really in Arizona, but we're going to go ahead and check the prop heat, which is located right here, prop de-ice. All right, keep your eye over here on the prop amps. Boom. Alternator load jumps, you can see prop amps come up. Beautiful. Prop heat has been checked. Propeller amps 20 to 25, that's correct. Prop heat off. Throttle, let's go ahead and bring it back down to 1,000 RPM. Electric trim, exercise, and the autopilot test. So this doesn't really work with my force feedback yoke, because what happens is the force feedback will actually fight against the autopilot, disconnecting it, but I can give you a brief test here. So what we're going to do essentially is you want to set your heading bug, all right, set your heading bug straight, and first and foremost test the electronic trim on the yoke. Make sure that it is moving the trim wheel. Beautiful. You know, then I have my Bravo trim here, we call it, I guess, analog trim. And then you have electric trim. Make sure that works. Now we're going to test the autopilot. And what you're essentially doing here, I'm going to sum up this entire thing, all of these. See this? Boom, 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 boom. The entire rest of this run-up, I will summarize for you here. So what we are checking is that when you turn the autopilot on, first and foremost, and the flight director on, you want to make sure that the autopilot is going to follow the flight director, and you're going to make sure that the yoke will turn left or right in conjunction with the heading bug. You're also going to check that your autopilot disconnect switches are working. So you would then disconnect it by pressing your autopilot disconnect. If you have a trim disconnect, you would test the trim disconnect. And then lastly, you would check an actual physical override to disconnecting the autopilot as well. So you would check the autopilot disengagement. Now let's go ahead and I will show you why it doesn't quite work. I'm going to go ahead and put heading flight director on. All right, now if I move the heading bug, you can see the flight director is following the heading bug, right then left. You want to do that check to make sure that if you came out of maintenance or something, that the airplane wasn't wired backwards, which has happened before. All right, so left would be right, right would be left. You don't want to have to figure that out after rotation, okay, or I guess when you engage the autopilot. So we know the flight director is slave to the heading correctly. Now let's go ahead and try the autopilot, but like what I told you, what's going to happen is it's going to disconnect right away because my force feedback is going to fight against the autopilot servo and disconnect it as it's simulating that I'm holding the yoke, all right? But the real airplane wouldn't do that. So autopilot engage, see how it disconnects? All right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna put the heading bug to the right. I'm gonna try to engage it one more time. I wanna see if the yoke will at least start to turn. There it goes, beautiful. You see how it started to turn? That's proper. And why it's disconnecting is because the way force feedback software is, I'm not moving the yoke, so the airplane thinks I'm overriding it, which is correct. So I've essentially tested 2 disconnects there, all right? So that all works. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the flight director off. I don't need it anymore. I'll reset my heading bug here to 070, runway heading, and now we're set. Flaps, we're going to, we already checked the operation in pre-flight, right? We dropped them, we retracted them, so that's completed. Set for takeoff, no flaps today, windows closed. Aft door extinguished light is out. Flight controls, free and correct. Beautiful, yes they are. Altimeter set, magic barrel ref has been pressed. Departure, briefing, panel lights, all that stuff is done. All right, before takeoff checklist, mixture, max power, oil temp 24C minimum, which it is. Aux fuel pump off, air conditioning off, landing light, transponder, weather radar if required. Takeoff, nothing really changes here. So we are set. We'll put the en route climb up, and let's go ahead and get ready to take off. Let me go ahead and make sure I have any, didn't miss any things in the chat. I know I'm not reading too much chat right now because again, I'm doing the stream to just kind of teach more than anything. I still have my non-force feedback Microsoft Sidewinder, literally 20 years old. Oh, dude, the Sidewinder is great, dude. That was my first stick. I absolutely love the Sidewinder. Or my first force feedback. I was one of the first ones out there, wasn't it? I love the Sidewinder. You could uncheck disconnect 8P on overpower and CLS, then it should work. Correct, Vodka. But what I do, I would rather have it disconnect on forced override, because if I'm in autopilot mode and something happens, I want to just grab the yoke and disconnect. I would rather have that than be able to do an autopilot test. But you're absolutely right. In the Brunner software, you could disconnect that function and then you could do your autopilot check. But for me, I saw it turn, I know it's working, and I'd rather have an extra way to disconnect the autopilot, because guess what? Autopilot disconnect buttons do fail. Fun fact, in the Beech 99 per our SOP, because you did not have an actual trim wheel and you had no visual reference of the trim moving, it was only if the trim was moving, you would hear a beep, 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 because the FAA required that after there was a couple of trim runaways and nobody knew, because there was no wheel and no sound the trim was moving. So you would have to test every autopilot disconnect for every leg. So basically you'd engage the autopilot, you would do the normal disconnect, you would engage the autopilot again, you would do trim disconnect on both sides, you would engage the autopilot, and you had 2 trim switches, and then you would try to disconnect it with the left one, and then the right one, and then the up one, and then the down one, and then you would do the same for the other yoke, and then you would have to test the emergency disconnect on the console. Like there were so many autopilot checks in the 99 that we had to do. It was kind of I mean, you got used to it, but it was just one of those things kind of unique to that airplane, because it had you had no idea the trim was moving other than the beep beep beeps. D3P, this is the Brunner yoke. This is Brunner force feedback yoke is what I'm using here. I'm confused on how to change tip tank fuel. Is there a pump, or does it auto transfer from tips to the mains? So we don't have tip tanks on this, Zach. We're running the straight up A36. I believe it auto fills them though. I have to double check, but I'm pretty sure the tips they feed the mains. I think that's how they auto feed, but I'd have to double check. Don't quote me on that. Maybe we can check that one later. So, all right, last thing we're going to do before we're ready for takeoff, we want to go to the fullest tank. So fullest tank technically is going to be right tank. So we'll flip you over to the right tank. No need to use the fuel pump because we're on the ground. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. Number 3 Bravo Tango, runway 07, flight runway heading clear for takeoff. All right, cool. Landing light, strobe light are coming on. Mixture is full rich for takeoff. Clear any blinking lights in your airplane. Just start the habit now. If you have anything blinking, acknowledge it. Don't fly around with blinking lights in your cockpit. I promise you it's going to benefit you in the long term. All right, we're lined up. Runway heading checks. Center it up. Let's go flying. So again, if you own this airplane, you're going to really want to baby it because it's your airplane and you want to be gentle. How you baby it is don't just rip the throttle full forward here. I like to spin up the power. Now you don't want to hold the brakes if this was your own airplane either, because it's harder on the engine and it'll ding up your prop. But for this demonstration, I'm going to hold the brakes. So I'm going to show you. I want you to pay attention to the RPM. I power it up, nice and slow, and nice smooth all the way forward, nice and smooth. You see that? We didn't bounce it off the governor. We just had one nice smooth power application. Little forward pressure on the yoke. Winds are right down the pipe, coming through 65 knots. Nice little back pressure, positive rate, gear up, flywheel. Beautiful. Ooh, a little bumpy. V1 brushing up on CFI in case he gets furloughed. That's funny, dude. All right. There's 100 knots. If you had the flaps out, think about retracting them or make sure no runway remaining. Beautiful takeoff there. Just gonna keep pitching for 100-ish knots. Now we're gonna do the transition. So be November 3 Bravo Tango, turn right heading 150, contact Phoenix approach on 124.5. 150, Phoenix approach 124.5 for 3 Bravo Tango. Alright, so now I'm going to just slave up my CDI the direction that I'm going. Just I like to keep things in sync. Alright, after takeoff here, we can go ahead and bring our prop back a little bit. I like to get it off the red line, right? Around about 2600. Alright, we've departed the pattern. Let's go ahead and turn the taxi landing lights off. We'll keep strobe beacon nav is all on. No need for air conditioning. Let's pull out the en route climb. So mixture, max power, propeller 2500 RPM. So actually we can go all the way back to 2500 on this. 2500. Throttle is full open. Cow flaps as required. Air conditioning as desired. Oxygen engine performance monitor. Okay, so that's all complete. Here's 1,000 to level off. 1,000 to level off is coming up. I need a little bit of trim here. There we go. A little bit of aileron trim. 1,000 to level off. Keep the heading bug synced up. Nope, it's not the heading bug. Now, as we climb, we're going to just go ahead and crack that mixture back just a little bit here. Every 1,000 feet or so. We are in the regular aspirated Bonanza, no turbocharger. So as we climb up in altitude, what's going to happen to our fuel-air mixture? If we leave it at full rich, we're going to end up with too much fuel, not enough air, which is going to decrease the performance of our engine. So as we lean, or excuse me, as we climb, we like to lean. All right, we're going to level off at 4,500 feet. Now, if you want to be a pro pilot, don't pull the power to level off here at 4,500 feet. You're in a naturally aspirated Bonanza. You need the speed. So let's level off. Let's accelerate. Trim as we accelerate here. Now, that's the technique that will differ now as we speed up. I actually need to get rid of. I need to bind this. As we speed up, or if you fly the more powerful airplanes like the Turbine, of course, the Baron, of course, maybe even the TC, then, okay, bring the power back to kind of help your level off. Understandable. But just as a technique here, you don't have to worry about having too much power with the naturally aspirated one. All right, as we get our leveled off and trimmed out, let's enjoy the cruise down to Casa Grande. So everything is synced up. I'm going to go ahead and engage altitude heading mode, autopilot engage. On that, I'm going to first bring the prop back 2300. And now I'm going to do a very simple lean. I'm not even going to look at our fancy lean gauge here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to look at our EGT gauge, okay? And I'm just going to bring that mixture back, mixture back, mixture back. We're only at 4,500 feet. Nothing's really changing. I saw it go up just a hair. I'll push it back in. So we're pretty much set. Okay, we're only 4,500 feet. We don't need a super lean for economy. Now what you could do is you could put the lean find on here, get the peak EGT, then set it lean and peak or rich and peak. But that's semantics at this point. We're 4,500 feet. We're cruising for 10 minutes. So I'm going to turn up my ANR a little bit. All right, well, for the transition, we want to basically fly this heading. Cruise checklist, cow flaps close. So let's go ahead and close cow flaps. Landing, pitot heat, prop heat, fuel imbalance, 15 gal max, prop, throttle, air conditioning, engine performance monitor. Cool. So we are set right at 4,500 feet. We are looking good, and our fuel tanks are looking good, so no need to change them. And for the transition here, we actually want to go over the departure end. All right, so as we're cruising over Phoenix Sky Harbor, wow, beautiful morning in Phoenix. As we're cruising over Phoenix Sky Harbor to Casa Grande, we'll just do a brief overview of the traffic pattern at the airport. So we'll get rid of the checklist, and I'm going to see if I can use the free charts on this. That way I know everybody has them. Let's go to here. Let's go to Casa Grande Municipal FAA charts. Now, what I like about the FAA charts is there's no airport diagram, but if you pull up the ILS 5 chart, the FAA charts will give you a little airport diagram that you can use. This a little bit. That's what I like about the FAA charts as opposed to JEP charts. JEP charts don't give you a runway diagram, even when you have an approach there. So we know we got 5 and 2-3, and let's take a quick look at the winds. The weather, Casa Grande, 080 at 13. Okay, perfect. So we're going to plan to land on runway 5, and we're going to make left traffic for runway 5, the standard traffic pattern. Hold on, let me go ahead and make sure we're doing the transition properly. We need to come back to the right here. Should be right over the, you want to be over the departure in, or basically over the threshold in the highway here. Throttle cam is in front of the chart. Oh. Totally forgot about that. All right, let's go back to full screen. Thanks, buddy. And since we're cruising at 175 knots, let's bring the power back just a little bit. I don't want to go that fast. We don't have a lot of time. But we want to have a little bit more time to talk. So I'm going to bring the power back a hair. Beautiful Bravo airspace transition. Got a lot of pictures of that right there, real world. A lot of pictures of that. That's so cool. All right, and actually before we get to Casa Grande, we're going to fly over here to the practice area, and then we'll do a few little maneuvers, all right? Can you let us know when you're on the approach leg? Just don't get me started, AJ. Did someone say departure leg? We were on a departure leg because we were departing the pattern. You'll notice that my terminology will change when we stay in the pattern because we'll be upwind for left closed traffic, just like the FAA book says. Someone asked about the cowl flaps of JT. So the cowl flaps are going to help you control the temp of your cylinder head temps of the engine. So they are exactly what they call them flaps, but think of them as vents. Okay, so cowl flaps open. You're going to open the venting to the engine, and it's going to help keep your temperatures down. The reason you would want those open on the ground and in climb is because you're going to be at a high power setting. You're not going to have a lot of airflow over the engine, right? When you're on the ground, you don't have any airflow other than what's the engine propeller is giving you. And in the climb out, you're at a high power setting, slower airspeed typically, and your also angle of attack will come into play. So you don't have a whole lot of airflow. In cruise, we close them because you've got nothing but airflow going over the engine, so they're not necessary, right? All right, I'm going to come to the right here, out here to this little practice area. That way we can talk real quick about the traffic pattern. All right. Can I draw? I can probably draw on the JEP chart. So let me go Navigraph real quick. See how it stutters. I really don't like using the Navigraph app. I wish, like, having it on your EFB would be awesome, or your own personal iPad. All right. Here's what we got. I'm going to pull up Casa Grande. They do have a taxi chart in JEP, which is nice. All right, so runway 05, we're going to make left closed traffic, all right? First and foremost, we need to know what is our traffic pattern altitude going to be. Well, the airport elevation is 14, we can look at the touchdown zone elevation here. Airport elevation is 1447, 1464. It's a little bit of a slope, but we're pilots. We like simple math. Let's round that up. So let's say the airport is 1,500 feet, all right? Traffic pattern altitude for a single engine airplane, piston, is going to be 1,000 feet above the field elevation, traditionally. Now, there are some non-standard traffic patterns and altitudes, but again, for this video, it's going to be nice and easy. It's going to be standard. So our traffic pattern altitude is going to be 2,500 feet. Right? That's 1,000 feet above the field. Now, what I like about this is we can draw on it. So the traffic pattern, we'll draw it in blue, all right, is going to look like this. Now, this is a condensed version, right? And we are going to go this direction. We're making left traffic, right? So you're going to go upwind, then you're going to turn to your crosswind leg to the left. You're going to turn your base leg to to the left, and then you're going to turn final to the left. All right, so that's the direction of traffic flow. Now, the way we're going to enter this traffic pattern, because this is an uncontrolled airport, there are several different ways you can enter a traffic pattern. There's actually a lot of different ways. Basically, as long as you don't hit anybody, it's an uncontrolled field. Nobody's going to care which way you enter. The standard, most common way, I should say, to enter the traffic pattern, if you can do it, is 45 degrees to the downwind. So we are coming from the north, so we should plan to enter on a 45 degree to the downwind leg. Now you can enter on a direct base, right? We are coming from the north, and it may be easier to just enter a left base direct to runway 05. You can do that as well. As long as you're not hitting anybody and you're talking on the radio, making sure you're keeping up your communications, you'll be fine. Now, back in my day, Casa Grande was extremely busy for approaches. I actually watched the aircraft crash there, a C-90 go-around, because of conflicting traffic, and they VMC rolled it. But you want to make sure you're talking on the radio, all right? That's going to be our standard traffic pattern. We're going to plan 2,500 feet. We're making left traffic. Now, if you don't have this chart, you can also find the information on the sectional chart, right? So sectional, Casa Grande Municipal, 1464 is the elevation. Lighting, right? Right pattern for 2-3. So runway 2-3 is non-standard. So 2-3, if it's non-standard, it will be depicted here on the sectional chart. It's right pattern for 2-3. So 2-3, you're going to go right traffic. For runway 5, it's standard, so you're going to make left traffic. There's your frequencies, etc. All right. The stack is still full, Captain Nate? Yeah, we used to stack up. So Captain Nate is referring to the stack, Stanfield stack over here. Man, we used to stack this thing 15 planes high. And actually, that's when the accident happened. So they had we were in the stack, and everybody was talking to each other. And there's a GPS approach to the other side and an ILS approach to 5. So guys would practice conflicting approaches, and then you'd break off the approach and go missed, right? Well, a King Air flew in here, blew right through the stack, didn't talk to anybody, was on short final for 5. He saw conflicting traffic because he wasn't talking to anybody, freaked out, went around. That's a good call, right? But they lost an engine in the go-around. VMC rolled it and crashed just on the north side of the field there. I'm going to make a 360 here because I don't want to get too far out, so we're just going to come all the way back around. But there is your basic little overview. So if I go back to our chart, does it save it actually? Save all my oh, it saved all my annotations. Cool. All right. So now that you know how we're going to enter the traffic pattern, we know how to find the field elevation, and we know how to add 1,000 feet to the field elevation for traffic pattern. You can also check in the AFD, the Airport Facility Directory, if you want to find non-standard traffic pattern altitudes. But for this simple flight, it's 1,000 above. All right. So I've done a lot of talking. You guys want to know, how do I get better at landing this airplane? You haven't told me how to land yet. All right. The key to getting better at landing is going to be practicing your landings. When you practice your landings, you're going to be flying the traffic pattern. If you can fly a consistent traffic pattern, the corrections that you make in your landings are going to be much more effective because everything is remaining constant. Your distance from the runway is remaining constant. Your altitude in the pattern is remaining constant. All right. If you are varying in altitude and you don't care about traffic pattern altitude, you're going to end up high on final, low on final. Then you're going to be unstable. All right. The second key, and pretty much not even second, it goes hand in hand with being consistent, is you want to be stable. Okay. You have to be stable on final approach. If you're not stable on final approach, an unstable landing is going to lead to an unstable approach is going to lead to an unstable landing, most likely. All right. Very seldomly do you butter that approach that ATC left you high on. You've been bombing it, speed brakes all the way down, gear out, flap left and S turns. Very seldomly do you butter those, okay? The ones that you butter typically come in on a nice stable approach. That's why airline criteria, 1,000 feet stable, right? 1,000 feet out is still a long ways to watch that final approach. So stability on final and consistent traffic pattern. We're going to use tools that we've already set up, our views and distances with our eyes in relation to the wings of the airplane. All right? Now, before we head over to Casa Grande, we're only 17 miles out. I'm going to do just a little bit of slow flight, and this is a maneuver we do for teaching people how to control the airplane in various configurations and how it's going to handle when you get down into the flare and it stops flying. And that's all fine and dandy. You're going to learn that too here in the sim. But where this will really help you out is fine-tuning your curves. Okay, if you don't have force feedback, go up and fly in slow flight and adjust your curves and sensitivities on the fly to get the feeling of what the airplane is doing when you're in slow flight. All right, so I'm going to disengage the autopilot and I'm just going to start slowing the airplane down. Now for maneuvers, we're actually going to move that mixture up almost full rich. All right, we're going to bump our prop up 2,500 RPM, and now all I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing that manifold pressure back. And we're going to slow down. As we slow down, we just want to maintain altitude, all right? So I'm going to bring power all the way back, just above the, my autopilot disconnect's not working there. There we go. Just above the gear horn, all right? So I already lost some altitude there because I was messing around with the yoke. Get back to 4,500 feet. We're slowing down. We're slowing down. Maintain 4,500 feet here. We're coming down through 100 knots. All right. We're still slowing down. We're still slowing down. I want to get down to right about 80 knots here. And then I'm going to start adding the power back in, okay? I want to maintain 4,500 feet. And I want to maintain 80-ish knots. So now I'm going to add a little bit of power, all right, and just be stable. So now we are flying pretty much in that short final regime of flight. Hear the stall warning horn, a little bit of power, all right. As I roll, stall warning horn starts to go off, all right, but we're not actually stalling yet. We're just getting real close. But I want you to, this is for hardware here. This is more so for hardware now. I want you to be able to see my inputs on the yoke. All right, I should be able to easily control this airplane here in slow flight. I can make a 360 if I want to. And I'm not having excessive movements on the yoke. I'm not having excessive pitch movements. Everything is very slow and docile, okay? So this is going to be step one to dialing in your hardware and your curves if you're not using force feedback. If you are using force feedback, this is going to help you get comfortable with slow maneuvers in a clean configuration. The problem is we don't typically land in a clean configuration, do we? No. So we're going to transition to a dirty configuration. All right? But before we do that, for fun, I want to just stall the airplane. So let's do a clean stall. So I'm going to bring the power back. Actually, let's do it in climb. So I'm going to actually keep power set at 15 inches. I'm going to pitch up, and I'm going to hold it till the airplane stalls. This would be simulating a departure stall, right? You're clean, gears up, you're climbing out. Oh, brother. That wing dropped quick. That wing drop went into a spin there. That wing dropped real quick. Wow. Spin like a pro. Now, I want to try that again because we shouldn't have, I don't think we should have spun there. Man, we went right into a freaking spin. Let's try that again. 15 inches. Staying coordinated. I mean, technically the stall warning horn is going off. Right? Lower the nose. Wow. It does want to drop that wing. I don't know if that's inherent of the Bonanza. That's pretty wild. All right, but hey, that's great to practice, right? Because now we know if you do a departure stall, you got to be ready to stop that spin entry, all right? Power to idle, ailerons neutral, rudder opposite, elevator forward, all right? I'm going to go ahead and climb back up here to 4,500 feet because I'm a little bit nervous now. So let's go ahead and get the power back in. Let's get up to 4,500 feet, and then we're gonna do everything in the landing configuration next. Departure stall equals cooked, exactly. So, I mean, that is a power-on stall technically, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. I guess somebody said that's why you get the Dr. Killer name, for sure. So, everything's up. Power 25. Mixtures come up a little bit more there. We'll just go full rich because we're 4,000 feet or less. I'm going to climb back up here. We're going to get up to 4,500 feet, and we're going to do the same slow flight technique, but this time we're going to do it in the landing configuration, okay? And this is where you're really going to start dialing in your yoke, dialing in your curves or sensitivities, and dialing in your aircraft control in the flare and landing. Mickey G says, I'm scared. Hey, you should be scared after posting those AI-generated 2-peak videos, man. Unbelievable. All right, so let's get back out 4,500 feet. I'm going to do this kind of quick on the configuration here, so I'm going to pull power back to level because we want to slow down, right? We're in the wide arc. Let's go flaps approach. Counter that nose up trim. Power's coming back. Let's go ahead and lower the gear. We're going to go prop full forward. And we're going to go full flaps now. All right, so our full flaps, we are landing configuration. Let's slow the airplane down, maintain 4,500 feet, but let's see if we can fly it down there around 65, 70 knots. All right, now we are fully configured in the landing configuration. So I'm slowing down, I'm trimming out. You can trim it for slow flight, you'll be just fine. You're going to need a little, see how much more power we need because we got the drag hanging out there. All right, a little more power, a little more power, a little bit low. Entering the region of reverse command there, power for altitude. Let's get back up to 4,500. Come on, we're almost there. All right, pretty much right on 4,500 feet. Get my trim in there. Look at that. A little bit of less power we don't want to climb. And look at that. We're trimmed out in slow flight. Right, need a little bit more right rudder because we got more power on the airplane. So now we are flying the airplane. Essentially, this is how it's going to feel when you come into flare and land. Right at 65, 70 knots. We're level. This is where you're going to do the same thing as we did in the clean configuration. I want you to make some maneuvers, do a couple S-turns. We're going to come all the way left. Let's set ourselves up for an entry. So we're going to come left to 090, maintain altitude. And if you're not able to control your airplane with your fingertips here, then you need to work on your sensitivities and curves. With force feedback, it's extremely easy and extremely satisfying because I'm running everything in the linear fashion here. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, so now let's pretend we're going to land. So I'm just going to go ahead and lower the nose a tad, right? I'm going to bring the power back, and I'm going to just simulate a flare. So power's coming back now, and I'm going to go ahead and bring the nose up. There's the stall, lower the nose. Wow. That thing loves to drop the wing. That is scary. All right, I'm not going to do a full recovery. Let's come back up. We'll do the full recovery on the next one. I want to do one more. I get the power back up. Let's give ourselves a little bit more altitude. I really don't want to crash on this instructor flight. Okay, so this is great to learn because you know now if you stall the airplane, you got to be quick. All right, we'll come up another 200 feet here. Come on, get up there, get up there, get up there. Coordinated. All right, let's go ahead and bring power to idle. Lower the nose. There we go, much better. Whoa, that's a lot of nose lowering there. Easy on the secondary stall. All right, now the recovery, right? So we're going to get the airplane positive trend, flaps approach, positive rate, gears coming up. Get the power in. And keep climbing, keep climbing, keep climbing. You got to trim down now. So we got a lot of up trim in there. And we'll clean it up. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and level here at 3,500 feet. Come back down. I'm going to make a left 360 because we want to enter the pattern like we planned on the 45. So I'm going to make a little turn out here to the left. Because the airport's going to be, yeah, it's right there. I can see the airport. Wow, look at that line. They've actually got that zip. Okay, forget the entry that we were planning on doing. Let's fly over the mine. I want to go take a look at that. I want to take a quick look at the flight tracker cam here that I have pinned. I want to make sure we're not muddling up our traffic. Okay, there we go. So everything looks good. We're going to stick with the original plan. All right. A couple tools. Let's talk tools. I'm going to come out here to the north so we can do a proper entry. And I'm going to lower my altitude 3,500 feet so it doesn't keep beeping at me. Do a little altimeter update as well. All right. Now, let's talk more tools, okay? More tools that we have in the cockpit to help us be consistent with our traffic pattern. If you have a Garmin GPS device, it's very easy to set a visual extended runway center line. Like you know in the Airbus when we go shoot me a line, all right? We're going to be messing with the CDI button here. What I also like, if you don't have a GPS, I will always set my HSI course line to the runway heading. We know we're going to be landing on runway 05, right? So I'm going to set you to runway 05 or whatever the runway official line is. It is 048 technically according to the chart. Okay, so 048 would be where I set my CDI. Now, for the Garmin people, you're going to select, you see this button says OBS mode? You're going to push it in OBS mode. Now, the OBS is going to visually change on the Garmin. You see how I'm turning that line around? I am moving the extended center line on my Garmin 530. Now, you'll see this better when we get up here to closer to the airport. All right, what was it? 048 is the official course line. So I'm going to set 048, and now I have an extended center line on my Garmin device. Now what I want to do is I don't want this displaced, so I'm going to turn my nav needle to nav because I'm not tuned to anything. I want just a nice straight nav needle there. All right, let's go ahead and make our turn back towards the airport. And let's descend to 2,500 feet because we said that was our traffic pattern, right? So 2,500 feet, we're going to descend to 2,500. I'm going to bring my prop back just a hair. Make sure it can stay full rich. We've been doing maneuvers. Bring my heading bug up. And I can see the runway. So, runway right off the nose. We're set up for a 45-degree entry. I can verify that roughly here. This is my runway on my HSI needle. This is my heading bug right here. I'm roughly 45 degrees entering the pattern. I'm going to enter on the downwind leg. We also want to be at the pattern altitude that we've already concluded prior to entering downwind, essentially, right? Ideally, you want to enter the downwind at traffic pattern altitude because you don't want to be climbing and descending in the pattern. Depending on your airframe, there are different pattern altitudes, right? So 2,500 feet as we enter the pattern. We also don't need to be running into the pattern at 160 knots, all right? So bring the power back, you know, edge of the white arc, 140 knots, maybe max, okay? Those are all going to be roughly good speeds. Now, as you fly the more powerful airplane, whether it's the turbocharged or turbine Bonanza, you're going to be really jockeying that power because you're going to accelerate much faster. All right, as we're entering the pattern, 2,500 feet, how do we know how far we want to be from the runway? Well, easiest way I can tell you is on this particular airplane, we're going to split the wingtip and the fuel cap. I want the runway to be roughly somewhere in this area of my wing, okay? I went a little bit too low there, so let's go ahead and we'll join up, climb back up to 2,500 feet, because if you don't join at 2,500 feet, the visual of the runway on the wing is going to be skewed, all right? So we are 110 knots, roughly 2,500 feet. Look at that. Where's my runway? Pretty much right between the fuel cap and the wingtip. Beautiful. This is going to happen quick now. All right, so we are abeam the touchdown zone. Abeam the touchdown zone. Power's coming back, gear's coming down. We're also going to get our landing taxi light on. We're going to lose roughly 300 feet here, and then we're going to make our turn to base. As we make our turn to base, flaps approach, spin my heading bug 90 degrees left so I know where I'm turning. This is where my views are going to come into play here, right? We're approaching 90 knots. No need to go flaps full yet. We're descended a little bit quick. Take a look at our runway. There's our runway. So you can see we dropped altitude a little bit quick there. If you can help it, don't climb in the pattern. Just shallow your descent. All right, we can see the pappies. We can judge when we can turn. And let's go ahead and start making our turn to final. This is where I'll go ahead and go full flaps, mixture props full forward, gas if required. This is where your view helps here. Overshot just a hair, but that's okay. That one happened real fast because we were right on top of the airport when we joined. Sync my heading bug up. Now I'm not going to move the heading bug anymore just for simplicity purpose. We're on speed. Let's do our gump check. Gas, undercarriage, mixtures, full forward, props full forward. We're on speed. We're stable. We're ready to land. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stay in the pattern. I'm going to give you some fake radio calls. So if you're on VATSIM, you can practice your radio calls if you're doing this with other people or coming into an airport with no ATC services. So just like slow flight, we're fully configured. A little bit hot here, 80 knots over the fence. Let's go ahead and start bringing that power back. We got plenty of speed. Power's coming back. Nice, easy round out. Just hold it, just like our slow flight. Look at that. We kissed it. Beautiful. Let's go flaps up. Flaps coming up. Don't ram the throttle. Remember, we'll stand it up about vertical, and then one nice smooth application all the way forward. Coming through 65 knots, 70 knots. Nice, easy rotation. Positive rate. Gear up. Now we're going to stay in the pattern. Casa Grande traffic, November 3 Bravo Tango, upwind, runway 05, left close traffic. All right, so we're upwind now. Now, we got to be aware of our drift, okay? We have a little bit of wind from the right, so I'm going to set a little bit of a correction. This is where your Garmin will help you out, too. You can kind of keep an eye on where you're at. Roughly 400 feet, we're going to go ahead and start the turn to crosswind. Casa Grande traffic, number 3 Bravo Tango, crosswind, runway 05. Ideally, your traffic pattern, if you time it up right, you will turn to downwind and be leveling at traffic pattern altitude at approximately the right distance from the runway. Notice I've got my CDI here to help keep me pretty much centered. All right, 100 feet to level off. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango, turning downwind, runway 05. All right, we're leveling 2,500 feet. Bringing that power back a little bit. No need to be Speedy Gonzalez through the pattern here. Now, if you're flying the turbine, again, you're going to be really moving that throttle. Okay, we are a little bit not parallel, so let's get parallel. You see we're drifting a little bit. We want to get parallel with the runway. And check our distance. We're level. Where's my runway? Runway is right between the end of the wingtip and the fuel cap. Perfect. All right, maintain 2,500 feet. We're parallel, 100 knots. There's our touchdown zone. Gears coming down, lower the nose, reduce that power, get a little flap in there. I like to do flap gear at the same time because gear is going to slow you down, drag the nose down. Flap's going to give you a little balloon. So if you do it simultaneously, it kind of eases that aggressive pitch changing. All right, so we're downwind for 05. We're going to look to lose about 300 feet. So 25 minus 3 is going to be right about 2,200 feet. I felt a little bit low last time, but we actually ended up working just fine. So let's see what happens. Here comes roughly 300 feet loss. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango, turn in base, runway 05. All right, we're 100 knots in the pattern. Keep the descent rate going. Keep looking for the runway. You can cheat this view up a little bit. That might be a better way. Cheat the view up so you can see the runway out there. All right, I want to be perpendicular now to the final approach course. We're perpendicular. We're at 500 feet above. We're white and red on the pappies. We're looking good. Remember, don't climb. If you feel a little bit low, just shallow your descent rate. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango is turning final, runway 05. So we'll keep the turn going. We're looking out there. See, I'm red over red. I'm a little bit low. No need to go full flap yet. Let's just shallow that descent rate. Shallow that descent rate. I think we got a little bit low there because I think we might have went a little bit too long on our downwind. That's okay. We're right. Look at that. No climb necessary. We're wide over red. We're on final. 100 knots. Let's go. Full flaps. Gump check. Gear. Undercarriage. Mixture. Prop. Full forward. Pumps not required. Casa Grande traffic. 3 Bravo Tango is on final 05. We're slowing down through 90 knots. We're stable. We're looking at the runway. Beautiful. We'll do one more pattern. A little bit low. Correcting. So again, don't climb. Just shallow out that descent rate. There you go. A little bit of a crosswind from the right, so this is where I'm going to help cheat a little. I'm going to move my heading bug to see which heading I need. I need to be a little bit right of the actual runway center line. That'll help me stay more parallel when I take off and I go upwind. I don't want to drift towards the downwind. All right, again, 80 knots, 80 to 75 knots over the fence is fine. Then we're on the hot side, that's okay. Power coming to idle, plenty of speed. We got plenty of speed. Power nice and smooth. Hold it off. Hold that flare. My rudder pedal just slipped. Hold on, let me fix my rudder pedal. Flaps are coming up. I gotta fix my rudder pedals. I gotta re-secure these. All right, flaps are coming up. Stand the throttle up. We'll do one more pattern. Nice and smooth. Here we go. Sometimes you'll see me do this with my hand. Everything forward. Everything forward. Positive rate. Gear up. Now, I'm going to remember that heading bug that I changed on final. Let's fly that heading bug instead of the CDI. That'll keep us a little bit more parallel here. We won't get blown off course because we have a slight crosswind. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango, upwind, runway 05. Look at that. See? That's a good crab there. Maybe a little bit too much. Right about there. 400 feet in the turn.
Bank angle. Turn angle to bank angle.
This is epic stuff. Gotta be worth a bourbon, right?
Hey! Was that Dougal McTavish? I think that was Dougal. I can't look. Thank you so much. I'm pretty sure that was Dougal. Thank you for the bank angle check, my man. I appreciate you. Very, very kind. Hope you're enjoying the flight, my man. All right. Roll it out. Crosswind. Looking good. We're perpendicular with the runway course line. And we're getting ready to level and turn to downwind. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango, turn it downwind, 05 will be our last leg in the pattern. All right, there's 2,500 feet. Get parallel, so just like the upwind, we're going to creep a little bit left. There we go. 2,500 feet, retrim, 110 knots is fine. Looks like I might get a little bit of gust. Check my distance. My wings are level, right? Wings level, check distance. Perfect. Looking pretty good. Last one here, last one. Actually, we'll make this a full stop, and then we'll assess, and then we'll fly back. All right, beam the touchdown zone. Power's coming back. Gear's going down. Flaps approach. Lower the nose. Now, we got a little bit low because we went a little bit too far on our last pattern, so let's keep it in tight, right? We don't have to go out there and fly a 747. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, let's go 200 feet lost, right? So we'll go down to 2,300 feet, 100 knots, and in the turn. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango, base, runway 05. All right, 100 knots. We're in the base turn now. Yeah, this is going to look a little bit better. You can also use visual landmarks, right? If you have a road system, I'll show you that when we get back to Deer Valley. It has a nice road. Makes it real easy. All right, we're on a base now. Casa Grande, 3 Bravo Tango, base, runway 05. All right, judging my distance. That's why I bowed my views right. There we go. Start the turn to final. I have to, I'm being real easy on my rudders now because they're loose. And once they break that stiction, they get real slippery, so it might be a little uncoordinated. All right, rolling out on final. Flaps coming to full. 2 whites, 2 reds. We're slowing down. Casa Grande traffic, 3 Bravo Tango on final, 05. Full stop. We'll do a full stop taxi back and we'll assess what we've done here. We also need to switch tanks, so now would be a good time to switch tanks, but we're going to do a full stop. We'll take care of it. 80 knots, trim it out. And that should feel just like when we were doing slow flight in up at altitude, right? Should feel very similar to our slow flight control. Coming down 75 knots over the fence, looking good. Work it out nice, smooth. Get the flare in there, power to idle. Just hold it. I can't, my rudders are slipping. I can't stay on the center line. There we go. Nice. This is going to be a full stop. Taxi back. Actually, we'll do a full stop. We'll do a stop and go. Good luck getting stop and goes. All right, stop and go. So we're going to come down here. We're going to stop. Set 1,000 RPM, flaps up. And I got to catch up a couple different things. So we'll set the brake real quick. How's our temps? Our temps are good. Let's open the cow flaps. What I miss? Fireflyer, Airbus, love the J videos. Thank you for the 35 months support. That was Dougal McTavish, my friend. Thank you so much for the bank angle check, dude. I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked this this content, man. I love doing it. I love doing this kind of flying. It's so much more fun for me right now. All right, let's take a look. If you haven't already, click on the link on the top, and I'm going to show you our traffic pattern work that we've done here. This is where I like Volanta, and we can see what we've done here. So we were doing our maneuvers out here, boom, 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 and then we entered 45 to the downwind. Now I can tell you exactly which pattern was which. Who remembers the pattern where we were a little bit long and a little bit low? That was number 2, right? We went a little bit too far on the downwind. When we went a little bit too far on the downwind, guess what? You're going to end up low on final. Overall, these are pretty consistent patterns. We got 3 patterns here. Look at this, is all great. You can see our offset here. Look at our offset because we have just a little bit of crosswind. Then we hit the crosswind leg, looks pretty good. Look at our downwind. Our downwind leg is almost all on top of each other. I mean, they're just these almost on top of each other here. A little bit of spread out there when we first joined. You see we were a little bit too tight. We had to widen out. But this is what you want to see, consistency. We got to clean this one up here, right? This one was a little bit long, but we have nice, consistent traffic patterns. Let's take a look at our landing rates here. It looks like we can look at 3 landing rates. How did I saw 3. Okay, there we go. 3 landing rates. A 44 feet per minute, a 62 feet per minute, and a 47 feet per minute. Does it show where you touch down? Is that where you touch down, those markers? They all look pretty dang close to each other. So all right here, which is, oh yeah, it does. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Pro tip, mute the vertical stream. Oh yeah, you might have double audio. All right, so not bad, right? What do you guys think? Let's go ahead and fly back to Deer Valley, and then we'll do we'll go through the transition, and what we'll do is we'll do 2 patterns on runway 7 right, and I'll show you why 7 right is so fun. It's Black Canyon Highway, or Black Canyon Freeway rather, and the, what is it, 202, 101, whatever this is. Oh no, this is Beardsley. So basically, you have a road system. When it lines up like this, it makes traffic patterns practice so much easier, and I would actually recommend that because that'll get you comfortable with your distances, but you can use the roads kind of to keep you in check, and I'll show you what I mean when we get up there. So we'll do in our stop and go. We're going to blast off. We'll fly back through the transition and get out of here. All right. What's your sensitivities, MFGs? I find it a bit sensitive. I will show you right now since we're on the ground. I think I have a basic one. I do all the same for my MFGs. Right now, MFG crosswinds. I probably want to tweak these just a little bit. I have my basic rudder profile on. I'm gonna work on tweaking these. What I don't like, Turk, is I don't like curves. I like the extremity dead zone, and you can see here this is all curve. So what I would rather do is do linear, right, and then just do the extremity dead zones. But I'm gonna just leave it the same for right now. What did I do here? I moved the neutral point. How did I? Well, I screwed it up now. Way to go, Turk. Screwed me up. There we go. I'm gonna make a different profile because this is the old way of doing it. I like getting rid of the full deflections and making them straight. So this will get you by. This is what I'm rocking on the MFG crosswinds. But what I don't like is the rapid acceleration of rudder pressure. I think you're better off having a straighter line, just not having it get all the way to the full extent of the travel. Now the problem with that is taxiing then becomes a problem, and also if you have to do extreme maneuvers. So it's a trade-off. It really is a trade-off. But brakes, dude, so brakes won't let you change, right? I used to change brake sensitivities, but I don't think you can change them anymore. Let me see, left and right brake axis. Yeah, see, I can't tweak the action curve on brakes anymore. So, I don't know. All right, let's blast off. Let's go take a look at the mine. I know someone wants to see the mine. So here we go. Power's up. Normal takeoff. Brakes are still set. Brakes are released. Let's go. I want to go see that mine real quick. Positive rate. Gear up. See how we're drifting a little bit? Great. I mean, 2024, man, the wind is so much better than 2020. I mean, it is so much more realistic. You can tell the wind speeds have picked up here. You look at my head, my correction. Look at that crab angle. All right, let's go ahead and depart the pattern. Casa Grande traffic 3 Bravo Tango. Upwind to crosswind 05 will be departing to the northwest. Casa Grande traffic, last call. Alright, I want to go fly over this mine. What would you tell someone who is looking to go into flight school with the goal of trying to get to airlines in today's climate? Man, there's nothing like just going and getting it done. Like, if you want to do it, stop worrying about, you know, who's going to be hiring, what's going to be there, because you never know. In this industry, the only thing constant is change. What is there today could be gone tomorrow. What's not there today could be there tomorrow. So if it's something that you truly want to do, go get your medical, go do an intro flight, make sure you really are sure you're doing what you want to do, and get it done. And I would advise to get it done as quickly as possible, right? So airline life revolves around your seniority number. So the faster you get a seniority number, the better off you'll be. All right, we got to switch tanks. So let's go ahead and go fuel pump on, and we're going to switch to left tank, fuel pump off, fuel pressure first holding. All right, over the mine. Look at this. Wow. There's even water down there. There's even water down there, Chad. Can we fly in it? That's pretty wild. We need to take the helicopter in there. All right, let's get out of here. Let's go back to Phoenix, power it up. Up we go. All right, we're going to take the transition again, direct enter. This is knows as the water's mom line. Oh, jeez. I thought you had meetings today, AJ. Thanks for $3 super chat, man. All right, we're climbing out. Props coming back 25. Power's full forward. We're looking good. We'll go back at 3,500 this time. So 500 feet to level off, and take the highway, or we can take the direct ride. Let's go VFR. Tell you what, let's turn this off or to a different page. We're gonna go straight visual with the road up here. Follow the highway back. Get ready to level 2,500 feet. Turn you off. Cheat mode here. What did I do with alerts? There's 2 boxes now, both upper and left. Oh. I'll have to, I must have, oh yeah, my bad. There you go. It's gone now. I fixed it. Vodka. I didn't know why I had two. Now you made me climb through my altitude. Let's get back down 3,500 feet. All right, 3,500. We're coming down, and then we're gonna just follow this highway back towards Phoenix Sky Harbor, and then we'll take the transition and we'll enter right traffic for runway 07 right. We'll do just a few more. All right, FD heading altitude engaged, and we're cruising. Should start the chrono for our fuel tanks. A little bit better like that. Engine instruments all looking good. Cylinder head temps are good. We'll close cow flap. Chrono's on. Chat, is this educational content? We're trying, Latavius. We're trying. Just spent $200 at Costco. Ooh, shopping for just me, mind you. Adulting at its finest. Hey, wait till you go spend $700-800, man. Then you'll really be adulting. I still remember the day, the first time I ever spent $500 at Costco as an adult. I had one kid. It's like, wow. This is going to be expensive. $200 at Costco is like 5 items. Well, did you get a whole thing of steak, Sam? What are you getting, man? Did you get a 6 prime New York strips? Did you or anyone see the video from the cockpit of the reconnaissance plane flying? Yeah, man, Miss Martini was awesome. Can't stick around for long, just thought I'd pop in and say what's up. What's going on, man? Yeah, this one has been, we haven't been doing too much chatting on this. We'll chat on the way back here. But this was more for the tutorial purposes here. Alright, we're leveled off. Let's get some more juice out of it. 23. Lean back a tad. Right about there is good. We'll follow the road. I follow roads. We've got similar mines here in South Africa, diamond mines. Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are copper mines out here in Arizona. A lot of copper mines. There used to be one I used to fly up to, we've actually done the flight on stream. We flew the Piper Arrow to Lake Havasu, and there's a mine out there, I think near Baghdad, Arizona. Flight soft, this is the Brunner force feedback yoke. Wait till you have a family of 4 and the wife wants to take everyone out to eat. Oh, dude, I do. I have a family of 6. We don't go out to eat very often. Heck, we go into a coffee shop. Kid wants a muffin. This kid wants a muffin. This kid wants a muffin. $70 for 2 coffees. Children work in the South African diamond mines, though. That is true. That is true. I wanted to be a pilot so badly, but ADHD and the fact that I take medication have led me to being told that not getting medical might be harder. That's a bummer. Well, if it's something you really want to do, JT, you know, take a look at what medications are permitted or not permitted. I know that the FAA is very particular in what you can and cannot take. So, wouldn't give up on it though. If it's something you really want, maybe there's some way you can get in. Maybe get a LSA license, light sport or something. So, I got a buddy that I taught how to fly. Goes by the name Petro, and his dream was to be an airline pilot. I mean, super passionate, super just, he was a great soccer player too. I think his first goal was to, maybe get into pro soccer, and then if that didn't work out, go flying. I'm not sure, but he was a great soccer player. And I filled in for a couple lessons for him. We did our night cross country together, night landings, taught him how to do all that. I eventually left the flight school to go pursue freight and further my career. He got diagnosed with diabetes, is it type 2? I always confuse type 1 or type 2. And at the time, there was no, you could not hold a first class medical with that diabetes diagnosis. He was crushed, man. He was so crushed, but he was so determined. He's like, I'm not going to let it stop me. And type 1 insulin, yeah. So he never gave up. He, extensive work, extensive research, extensive lobbying to Congress, like literally going to DC and trying to get his case heard in front of different politicians. He did. He eventually got it approved to where you can now fly with type 1, right? You can hold a first class medical. It got approved. So he got it approved where you can hold a first class medical with that diagnosis. Became an airline pilot. I watched him get hired at his regional, which is awesome, and then he got hired at a major carrier here in the U.S., and now he's sitting right seat of a 737. And I mean, he was the pioneer for getting that through Congress. And if you know anything about the FAA and how they work, how slowly they work, and just how anything in Washington works, how much of a pain it is. So for him to never give up and see him sitting right seat of a 7.3 now is just fantastic. And the ironic part is I'm sure I will be slinging his gear at some point. So, but great dude, still friends to this day. If he went about to start saying if surveying for oil on his property, I've already done that in the sim. Already done it. Don't say it that way. Well, in a good way, Sam. Look, I would be more than happy to. I would love, it would actually be a very cool flight, to be honest with you. It'd be a very cool flight to fly with him in an airliner. I mean, that would be pretty wild. Never give up, never surrender. There you go, man. All right, so we're going to come up the highway here. And then we're going to do the transition again. AJ, thanks for $5 super chat. I love sitting on the hill off your nose. Watch Luke AFB pattern work. Oh, yeah, man. So you've got... so these are the... I forget what these are called. This is a mountain chain here. Luke Air Force Base is over there. You've got Camelback Mountain. And then... couple other mountains, Squaw Peak, or I think it's Piestewood Peak. It's over there somewhere. They've all changed the names. Lost my PPL years ago for medical. It can suck big time. Yeah, dude. I feel for anybody who has to deal with that, because that's just, I mean, it's unfortunate. That's we take health for granted sometimes until something's wrong, you know. JT, that's awesome, man. Very cool. All right, so we'll be talking a Fenix approach here, and same thing. We're going to fly the transition. We're entering airspace. We'll close that out. Looking at our fuel tanks. We're at 7 minutes. We're on left tank. We are. We're looking good. Do you think commercial retirement age should be raised? No. No, I do not. No, I do not. All right, so as we go back to Deer Valley, we'll close that page out. DVT. Let's take a look at Deer Valley Airport diagram. All right, we're going to be 7 right. We're going to call it 1500. Same field elevation. We're going to do 2,500 feet for the pattern. This time we're going to be 7 right. I'm actually going to close these out because it stutters. So I'm done with you completely. All right. So we're going to be landing. We'll do 1 touch and go on 7 right. So it'll basically be 2 laps in the pattern, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. One more tip for using ground references. Nabil, did you like the thumbnail? I thought you would. I didn't have any screenshots. Didn't have any screenshots, man. Eyes are the biggest thing that held me back. I get PPL eventually, but commercial aviation gonna happen for me. Oh, for eyes? It's tough. People wants to fly till he's 80. No, dude, please. Please. Alright. We made it through the transition. I guess we can go back to nav page 1. Same thing, we'll do OBS mode. Reloc. Oh, it doesn't have it off of Deer Valley though. Oh, that's why. There we go. There's our extended center line-ish. All right. Exiting the transition. Oops. Back to heading mode. Come over here. All right. Now, Deer Valley would be a controlled field, so they would give you full instructions. Too many green trees in Arizona. They need to fix that one. They need to fix that. Turk and Evan are blowing up my freaking phone over here. Alright. 330, go over the mountains here. So we want to be 2,500 feet before entering the airspace. We'll use the autopilot for this one. I'll set 2,500. And we're going to arm. Then I'm going to go set vertical speed. 500 feet per minute, engage. Down we go. Now we don't have to worry about shock cooling on this one. So as long as it's smooth, we can pretend we're going fast, which I used to love to do, is just see if we can get into the yellow arc. Yeah, well, it's a little bit bumpy. Might have to bring a little power off. Busiest airport in the world, yeah. Deer Valley Airport, man. Wild. It was wild back in the day. I'm sure it's still wild. We'll start bringing that power back as we get ready to enter the pattern. We will also go landing taxi light on. No pumps are required. We've got another, I don't know, 15 minutes before we need to switch tanks, right? Yeah, we're looking good. We'll stay on the left tank. A little bit to the right. Go around this peak here, and then we'll set up for a 45 downwind entry. Man, I love this airplane. It's such a nice airplane. Alright, start making our way over there. Approaching 2,500 feet. Once we level, we'll start slowing up. Crack the mixture in just a hair. Update our altimeter. Alright, 2,500 feet. We're going to fly straight towards the tower. Start bringing our power back. Same thing applies here. No need to enter the traffic pattern. 180 knots. Matter of fact, I've been yelled at from Deer Valley Tower for entering the traffic pattern too fast. Autopilot disconnected. Flight directors are off. Alright, so this one is going to be easy. I'm going to show you how you can use the assistance of ground references. So we've got a highway here. We already looked at it. It's going to be roughly parallel to our runway. So we'll go ahead and we'll join the downwind over the highway. Downwind, don't slow down too much. So checking our wingtips, a little bit far. So this was a point of contention. I always made my students be on or inside of this highway. There was another flight school that had people way out past the highway. This is about as far out as you want to get. Now, we're not exactly parallel. You see how we're getting closer? We're getting closer to the runway. Man, the winds are starting to pick up. This is why you fly early morning. All right, gears coming down. Flaps approach. A couple 100 feet lost, and we'll keep our base pretty much over this exchange here of highways. This is going to keep you pretty much locked into where you need to be. 100 knots. Don't get too slow in the turn. So this is a great way to use the ground, terrain, and scenery to help you get comfortable with your distance from the airport. Now, not all airports are going to work out this smooth or this convenient with, you know, parallel roads around the runway, but it gives you an idea. Yeah, it's getting bumpy. It's getting bumpy. I can see the runway right there. We'll turn final. We got one white, run red. As we make our final checks, mixture's coming up, props full forward, gears down through 100, flaps full. Now, it's very important you don't overshoot because we have parallel runways here at Deer Valley. Very important you don't overshoot. Now we're stabilizing on final. Gump checks complete. 90 knots. We're trimmed out. We'll do one touch and go and then a full stop. We got a super long runway, so let's play with it. Let's see if we can practice a short field clunker right on the paint, all right? Right on the 1,000 footers. So I want to start slowing down a little bit early here. That's slow flight dirty. That's what you're looking for, especially for the short field landing technique. Don't drag it in yet. Oh, see, a little bit too early there. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Bring the power out. Just a hair long. All right, flaps are coming up. Rudder pedal slipped again. I'm going to have to fix this for the next stream. Stand the power up. And nice and smooth all the way forward. Yeah, see, I'm not maintaining centerline because my rudder pedals. All right, up we go. Let's see if we can nail it on the second one. Positive rate, gear up, fly with. See that windsock down there? It was blowing from the right. Yeah, it's getting bumpy. Keep it climbing. There we go. Up we go. Up we go. All right, this one we're going to try to nail it. Center out. Looks like 070. That looks a little bit better. Sync my heading bug. Crosswind before the mountain. Before the mountain there's crosswind. In the turn. Here we go. See, that wind has actually helped us climb. We had really good climb performance there. We're already going to be at pattern altitude, which is fine. You can reach pattern altitude early. You just ideally want to be at the pattern altitude before entering downwind. All right, so we're going to keep it inside the highway this time. We're going to try to. Remember, the highway isn't 100% parallel, but it's close enough. Woo, buddy. Welcome to flight training in Arizona. Peter Basie, I went over views at the beginning of the stream. You'll have to wind it back. I went over exactly where to bind and why I bind it, the way I bind it. All right? Bring back prop 2500 if you want to be on top of it. That's how I knew my student was on top of it, right? If they would bring, you don't have to bring the prop back to 2500 and downwind, but technically, and I would always make sure my commercial students were held to that standard. Like, hey, technically downwind, you're cruising, bring that prop back. But sometimes there's just so much going on when you're talking on the radio and everything that, okay, you leave the prop full forward versus 2,500 RPM on downwind, you're not going to hurt anybody. But that's how I knew if my student was on top of it or not. See that? We're not wing. Look at the runway. It's right between the tip and the fuel cap there. Wonderful. All right, it beamed the touchdown zone. Here we go. Power's coming back. Gear's coming down. Try not to have that horn go off. Crack the throttle a little bit. There you go. Now the gear is down. Flaps approach. In the turn. We'll keep this one tight. We'll make a short approach on this one. Be a little bit, should be a little bit tighter than our last one. Yeah, it's probably going to be right about the same. Descent rate in this airplane, roughly 500 to 800 feet per minute is what you're looking for in the pattern. Any more than that, you're going to get too low. Any less than that, you're going to get too high. And that's going to depend on the wind condition. Are you flying in a headwind? Are you flying in a tailwind? That's going to affect that. All right, we turn final here. Remember, we don't overshoot, especially with parallel runways. A little bit low. This is a stall spin waiting to happen, right? Overshooting low. Look at that. That is what not to do. Just keep it coordinated. That's because that wind is picking up. We could feel it. All right, that wind pushing us from the southeast there. Got to be real careful. You're going to have to start making that turn on final earlier. All right, gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop full forward, flaps full. Short field, right on the paint. Full stop landing. Here we go. Right on the paint. Take it. Rudder pedal slip. Yeah, see, I need right rudder. I need right rudder. I don't have rudder. I have no rudder. My rudders are slipped out of my control. Golly, that's so frustrating. This was such a clean stream until that started happening. I will fix that before the next stream, guys. Yeah, I can't even push. I can barely push on right rudder without it slipping. All right, here we go. We're going to stop here at Charlie. First thing first, open the door because it's friggin' hot. Use tiller. I don't have them bound. I don't have the tiller bound. I can't. I gotta hold. I can't turn right. Oh, this is so frustrating. There we go. All right. Had to use differential braking, which shout out to the ground handling there because that worked. All right, as we clear the runway, we'll come to a stop. Right, make sure we clear the runway, come to a stop, get instruction from ground. Boom, boom, boom. We can switch back to, we'll keep it on the left tank because that's fuller. Mixture's coming back half, flaps are up, trim reset to the green band, transponder standby, and strobes off. All right, taxi to the ramp, let's go. And we're right where we started, I think, aren't we? Yep. Big Money View needs to get him some Thrustmaster pendular pedals. I don't think they're necessary. Because the rudders aren't pendular in an airliner. I don't know how they are on the 7.3 though. Alright, as we come into the ramp, we can kill the Avionics master. Trying to make the turn nice and easy here. We can take our headsets off because our ears are starting to sweat. I'm going to make a left turn, a little bit easier. We're going to do a pull through on 2 spots, which is not what you're supposed to do. Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts. All right, let's park it like we're supposed to park it. Kind of straight. All right, park brake is set. 1,000 RPM is set. And mixture. Idle cutoff. Prop comes to a stop. Beacon light. Magnetos off. Let's go. Standby alternator. Alternator off. Nav lights can come off. Battery light can come off. And we're all cleaned. We'll throw the control chocks in the yoke. We'll move the fuel selector to the off position. Like so. Let's take a look at our... Yeah, we're bound at 23, 21. So we're 2 gallons out of balance. I think it's, what is it, 15 gallons is the limitation. Engine condition, 100%. We are looking good. We are looking good. We put some time on it. We put 1 point... I had no time in this one, so we are 1.2. Just about to click over to 1.2. Alright, we'll come back out here. We'll close it up for the next guy. Throw our chocks on. Alright, we'll come around. We probably wouldn't put the plugs in because number 1, it's hot. Number 2 is probably going right back out, but we'll throw them in for sim purposes. Let's take a look at the vertical stream real quick. Let me review my flight. So if you look at the vertical stream, click the link at the top of the chat box there. This was our pattern work. We went over that. We flew all the way back. Look. On the roads. Perfect transition into Deer Valley. Look, our patterns were pretty much spot on. Remember I said our second one we're going to be in just a hair, a little bit tighter. But you can see the effects of the wind here on this one pretty good because you notice how fast the wind's coming out of the southeast there, right? So if the wind's coming out of the southeast, our ground speed's going to be faster here in the base turn. So our base leg is actually going to be shorter than our upwind leg, right? So you're going to need a tighter turn to keep it the same, essentially. So you can see the increase of ground speed here, a little bit more. Bank overshot a hair there on that one. Came back around. But yeah, inside or outside, being on the highway is plenty of space. And you see what I mean here. It's not exactly parallel, so you got to be careful because if you get too close on the base turn, you'll be overshooting every time because you don't have enough distance to lose altitude on that base leg. So got to be careful, but it's just another idea to, or just another tip rather, to help you learn traffic pattern consistencies as using ground references. Let me see my landings. How do I see the actual landings though? I thought, how did I do that? No, I don't want to hide landing. I want to hide the track. 163 and 157. Click to view options. I don't want to do that, but oh, there we go. So that was right. The second one was pretty much on the 1,000 footer. This one was just a hair early, I think. But overall, not bad. Not bad. I think that was a fun stream. Today you're doing the Cleveland stream, or was it Tampa? It was Tampa, and maybe, yes, we'll see. If not, yeah, tomorrow's my last flight, dude. So I probably should do a Tampa flight this afternoon. Just to I don't even know how to fly an Airbus anymore, man. So that'll probably be coming up. And then we're going to do a celebration long haul Fort Lauderdale to LA next week sometime. But I feel like I just got off of a actual flight instructing lesson. So I'm tired. I'm going to get some coffee. Refresh. I'm going to go get the fan that I have now. Thank you, courtesy Miss V1, to get the fan going here in the HQ. But there you go. There is your introductory lesson to traffic patterns. I know we didn't chat too much, but hopefully you learned something. Again, if you want to, make sure you go back to the view binding. Somebody was asking about that. Wind the stream back to when we bound views. I think that'll really help you out without track IR. So, Sam says you killed it. Sound like a CFI who's regularly teaching. Thanks, man. It's been a long time since I've taught, so that's very kind of you. Thank you, sir. More streams like this, please? Maybe. Maybe. More mine content next time? Ooh, maybe. All right. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you, Dougal, for the bank angle check. Thank you all for the support. Make sure one thing, we still have 200 people here. Hit the like button. Only 145 likes? Come on. At least 200 of you like this stream, right? Hit the like button for this video so it gets into the algorithms, and I will see you all on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be well. See you!